This video, it wasn't even supposed to be about 2K. I didn't want to make it about 2K, but I've been playing a lot of 2K games. Not 2K as in 2K20, but 2K as in like BioShock 2K, like the first BioShock. I've been playing a lot of that first game in that series. And I thought to myself, I'm like, it's probably gonna be okay. It's not gonna hold up as well as it probably should. No, it holds up. It's a great game. And I'm surprised at how great it's been because I think the game is almost like 18 or 17 years old. It's ridiculously old. But I didn't want to bring 2K into this because, I wanted this video to specifically be about Kratos, but weirdly enough, I've been playing BioShock, and again, I was trying to make this video about Kratos. I'm like, this kind of ties into one another, specifically with the companies, because I loved the new iteration of God of War. I loved that game that was made in 2018. It was released, and it had Norse mythology kind of being the primary focus of that game, and I loved that game. I loved what they did with Kratos, and I loved how they kind of reinvented him, but also brought out the true nature of Kratos. The video was originally going to be about how much Kratos had changed and how he had kind of gone from a dude who had kind of been manipulated by the gods to become this monster and this thing that he didn't want to be, to kind of reverting back to who he was originally, and that was a family man and a good guy at heart, even though he was a Spartan and he killed people. But instead, it's going to kind of be about these two companies, Santa Monica Studios and 2K Games, and kind of how one went one way and another went another way. If you ask some people, maybe Santa Monica had less success in the last 20 years and maybe, 2K had more success, or the vice versa, but I kind of want to start with this. When it comes to these two companies, they obviously took two different paths. Santa Monica Studios, they 1000% doubled down on Kratos, and look at what it got them. Almost bankrupted. They had to fire a percentage of their studio back after, I think, Ascension had gotten released. And I also think that a God of War game had been canceled after Ascension was released. So the studio kind of was in a bad place for a really, really long time. And then you started to see some rumors about them making another God of War game and how it had kind of detached itself a little bit from the original, and how everybody was excited about it. And then you started to see some things about it on E3, about it at E3, and you saw some of the gameplay for it, and then everybody went berserk. It was great. And then it comes out and it sells like gangbusters. It put Santa Monica back on the map, and it showed people like, yes, Santa Monica is still here. Santa Monica can still make great games. Santa Monica is still one of the best developers that Sony has. And then on the flip side of that coin, on the flip side of a company that doubled down on their IP, that doubled down on their studio, that said, hey, we're going to invest more into this studio, you have 2K Games. Again, BioShock, one of the best games that I've played in the last couple of months, obviously. In the last couple of months, I can't believe how great of a game it was. And they kind of doubled down on it, but then they saw the numbers. They saw the numbers, and they got lost in the sauce. They saw how much money 2K, as in the basketball series, was making, and they were like, let's do that. Let's add microtransactions to that. That's selling a lot more than our weird and obscure games. And when you have a game like BioShock Infinite, people are going to criticize it more because the expectations of that game are supposed to be higher than that of like a 2K. So even though BioShock Infinite, depending on who you ask, is either a good game or a bad game or a great game or whatever, it's like BioShock Infinite is not being criticized as much as 2K because everybody knows that 2K is shit, but it still makes billions of dollars annually. In BioShock Infinite, it takes a long time to make that type of story. It takes a long time to make that type of gameplay. And it takes a while to do anything in that series, let alone the original BioShocks as well, which if you ask some people, they may or may not know what that game series is. And 2K is like, let's scrap all that. Let's get rid of all of that pretty much become a publishing company. So games like, for instance, XCOM, who is developed by Firaxis, we're going to let them develop the game, but we're not going to make that game. We're only going to publish it. And the rest of the games that we're pretty much going to have a dev team dedicated for are going to be 2K. And look at what's that brought them. Billions of dollars in revenue. But really, their games, they suck. They're terrible. They're bad. And they are absolutely fine with that. They don't care. They look at their paychecks and they're like, we're fine with our game sucking. We are fine with 2K20 and 2K19 and 2K18. Some of the community has pushed back on it. Some have accepted it. We're fine with putting gambling in our games and things of that nature. We're fine with that. And that's where 2K has gone. A developer that at its peak was making games like BioShock and BioShock 2, but now is kind of just making, the same old shitty 2K games. But again, you have another developer who went through something similar where they were at a precipice. Which road do you want to take? Do you want to double down on the single player? Or do you want to make a multiplayer game? Some developers, it takes a while for them to get here to where they are. For Santa Monica to get to where they are now, they almost got bankrupt, and they kind of put their heads to the grindstone and they grinded it out until 2018, and they made something of themselves and they brought back that studio. And then you have 2K. You know what they decide. You know their business practices. You know what they want. And I find it interesting, depending on, which developer you want, depends on what type of methodology they may have. Maybe single player games, maybe just money making games. I don't know. But I thought that was interesting for today's video. And it also tied into Kratos and BioShock, and that's some of the stuff that I've been doing and seeing for the last couple of days. This has been 24. Remember to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe for more. Until my next video, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.